Technology moves really fast, which is a good thing because it means there's new and better treatments coming out every year, and vision correction has never been safer. It also means it can be hard to keep track of all the treatments available now. Did you know there are actually multiple types of LASIK available today? Let's first review LASIK though. LASIK is a procedure that uses a very precise laser to gently reshape the very front part of the eye to better focus the light rays to the back part of the eye, which is called the retina. LASIK has never been safer and has benefited from 30 years of innovation. That means there's a couple different approaches to LASIK. The most common type of LASIK is called wavefront optimized. The optimized just means the laser isn't treating the entire cornea, just the part that you're looking through. There's going to be a transition zone between treated and untreated cornea, and optimized means it is maximally smoothing that transition zone to eliminate any problems with contrast or halos at night or anything like that. So that's what the optimized part means. Almost everyone is a candidate for wavefront optimized LASIK. Topography guided LASIK uses topography to guide the LASIK treatment. So what is topography? Well, think back to like a state park map where it shows elevations. Oftentimes blue is water and red would be like a mountain range. Well, your cornea is the same. The Earth looks round from outer space, but you know there's mountains and valleys, and your cornea is actually the same. If you take a really microscopic view of the cornea, there's actually a lot of tiny imperfections that we can isolate and treat. So just like a state park map, we get a survey of your cornea and then treat all those imperfections to smooth things out to hopefully give you the best vision that you've ever had, even better than a contact lens because we're smoothing out the tiny imperfections in the cornea. Common brand names for this are things like Contura LASIK. Not everybody is a candidate for Contura LASIK. The range of treatments is a little bit smaller, but like all of these procedures, your doctor will decide which one is best for you. The newest innovation of LASIK is ray tracing LASIK called Wavelight Plus, which is by Alcon. That is where instead of just looking at the cornea, it actually turns your entire optical system into a lens and creates a model off of it. It then treats all the tiny imperfections, both of the cornea and the lens, to better focus the light and account for all the tiny types of aberrations that you might have. Again, not everybody is a candidate for Wavelight Plus, but it can be an awesome option. And just to recap, it isn't like small, medium, large that these procedures get better and better. It's that there's a right fit for your eye, and you might qualify for some and not for others. So that's why it's really important to have a surgeon that understands the differences between these. Wavefront optimized and Contura are completely possible with PRK, and oftentimes Contura is combined with PRK for people with keratoconus, which we talk about in a separate video, but we can oftentimes smooth out the cone from keratoconus, perform a cross-linking procedure to stop the keratoconus from progressing, all in kind of the span of a couple days. And there's not just LASIK. There is also a procedure called SMILE, which treats a kind of deeper portion of the cornea. It's great for certain patients who have certain anatomies, hobbies, or activities, and it has a very minimal recovery time, but it too has certain limitations, which is very important to talk to your doctor about. The newest innovation in vision correction is something called EVO ICL, which is the procedure that I have, by the way. Instead of doing any lasers or removing anything, we're actually taking a lens and placing it behind the color part of your eye. You can't feel it, nobody can see it, and you wouldn't even know it's there except you get to wake up and see clearly. In 2022, there was a new innovation to ICL where they put this small central port in the very center. That means all the fluid in your eye can move around totally unobstructed. If you Google ICLs, you might find things like cataracts or glaucoma, but that is extremely rare nowadays with the invention of that EVO central port. That has made this procedure safer than ever and has actually often made it my go-to recommendation for patients. There's even a procedure called lens replacement, where, while rarely done for younger people unless your prescription is really high, and we're talking like +7, 8, 9, 10, where we remove this old lens that simply wasn't the right power for your eye and give you a brand new lens with a built-in prescription and special technology. Like I said, this procedure is usually reserved for people who are very farsighted. So is LASIK safe? All of these procedures are extremely safe, and what it really comes down to is patient selection. So it's very important that we find the right procedure for your unique eyes, scenarios, goals, all things like that. That's why my recommendation is always go to a surgeon who, for one, specializes in vision correction, is trained in vision correction, does these procedures more than just a couple times a month, and has access to all the different technologies available, so you're not just put into a one-size-fits-all box. For example, if someone is only doing PRK and maybe some LASIK, you might get put into a box where EVO might have been better or lens replacement might have been better. But to answer the question, LASIK has never been safer. All of these vision correction procedures have never been safer. Again, you're benefiting from 30 years of innovation or more. Even ICL was first done in the 1990s, so it's just as old as LASIK, it's just as safe as LASIK, and it's getting safer all the time with new advanced sizing techniques and imaging techniques that we employ. But like I said, the most important thing in any horror stories you read about LASIK or these other procedures usually have to do with poor patient selection. So again, it all comes down to matching the right procedure with the right eye. When the wrong procedure is chosen for the wrong eye, the wrong goals, the wrong patients, that's when you might read about these stories or see those kinds of videos on TikTok. So, quick summary. 3 major types of LASIK: wavefront optimized, contoural LASIK, and Wavelight Plus. These are not necessarily one is better than the other, it's just finding the right fit for your eye. There's also SMILE, which is a procedure that treats a deeper part of the cornea. There's EVO ICL, which is the procedure that I have and my go-to. And there is lens replacement, which if you are very farsighted, your surgeon might consider. These procedures are extremely safe. They've never been safer. And the most important thing is that you go to a surgeon who is very confident in all the procedures, does them frequently, won't put you in a one-size-fits-all kind of corner, and will pick the right procedure for your eyes.